to the track, the wall, makes the leap, and makes the catch! Amazing catch by Junior! He got it! A perfect game! 13 strikeouts! And Bonds hits one high! It's in deep! It is out of here! 7:56! What a special moment for Barry Bonds. Swinging a long drive, deep to right, going, goodbye. He has done it. He has changed the game of the night with one swing of his bat.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Champions Adjust podcast. This is our special October MLB postseason edition of the Champions Adjust podcast. This is episode number 2 of the postseason episodes. We are going to recap what we talked about in episode 1, and then we'll touch on the division series today, and then we'll circle back as the playoffs continue. We're pumping these episodes out all October, not on any sort of schedule, just whenever we can get them out, they will be out. Sure. So subscribe to us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, all that stuff, so you get notified when the episodes drop, or you can just go to champsadjust.com and all this stuff is there for you to easily see immediately when it comes out. But
have you ever thought about like clipping that and just like putting that in the front end so you don't have to say it every time?
I like saying it every time.
All right, fair enough. Do you ever watch or listen to Colin Cowherd?
I do not.
Okay, so he has this really cool segment every single day because he makes all these predictions, right? And he makes so many predictions. You're going to be right about some, you're going to be wrong about some. So a big segment of his is where Colin was right and where Colin was wrong. And he goes, where Colin was right, and he goes like down his list. And then where Colin was wrong goes down his list. So let's do that. Ready?
Yes.
Where David and Aaron were right, and where David and Aaron were wrong. Okay, let's go back to where we were wrong, because we were right about nothing last week.
Well, we were right about some things.
Okay, what were we right about? That there were games going to get played?
That Major League Baseball games
were going to get played. That is that. Yes.
No, but really, truly, though, we were right about the Mariners and the Blue Jays making the playoffs. We predicted that 1 year in advance.
Yes.
But then the day of, we filmed on October 7th, which was the first day of the Major League playoffs, and we went down every game about an hour before the first game started, and we made our predictions, and we were not right about a single thing.
We were actually filming up during like the first pitch of the Rays Guardians game 1. And I think I said the Mariners are going to lose and Castillo's going to get knocked out in the 4th. In my defense, he'd been pretty bad for like a month and a half. Like he looked tired. And he was filthy for like 7 innings all of a sudden. And we got a 2-0 win that night. I said that there's no way the Phillies were going to beat the Cardinals. And the Cardinals had like one of the biggest implosions in franchise history. We gave up 6 runs with an out in the top of the 9th with MLB's 1B closer of the year.
Yep.
Just absolutely, not doing his job and then getting hurt. And then
some absurd stat going into that last inning was like the Cardinals are like
93-0.
Yeah, leading by 2 or more runs going into the 9th inning.
Yes, 93-0, man.
They give up 6 and they lose 6-2, and then
they don't get a run the next day.
They don't get a run the next game. So
the coolest thing to me, and another shout out to my buddy Tito, or at Tweeto at Turn 2 podcast, which is Cardinals podcast, and he's going to join us at some point when we can get our schedules set up, maybe before this airs. But he was he was at the game, and so he has a lot of thoughts. But for that game 1, the coolest thing to me when you talk about it from a Cardinals fan perspective, and it's stung a lot for Cardinals fans, because so rarely in Cardinals franchise history do you have a wheels fall off inning at such a high magnitude situation. And then the cool thing for me in game 2 is that Albert Pujols and Yadier Molina each got a base hit in their final at-bat of their major league careers at home at Busch Stadium.
Yeah, baseball is so funky, man.
Yeah.
Like, the Phillies, not a playoff team since 2011 I believe what we said.
Against the Cardinals,
and the Cardinals, a playoff team basically every year. And what you think wouldn't happen, happened. In a big implosion, 6 runs. Arenado doesn't make a hard play that he normally would make, right? A hard play, very hard play. Ball takes a weird hop, right? Normally he makes that play. Goldschmidt dives on a ball down the line. Probably doesn't, throw 4, maybe can possibly turn 2 because he's right by the bag, or just gets an out, right? All of those things potentially happen in the midst of a game.
Right.
That's why baseball is so cool, because it's like one little thing here and there, and then the momentum builds. Like, I think in that inning, the Phillies didn't hit a baseball like harder than like 85 miles per hour off the bat. And they just had a good 2-strike approach. They put the ball in play. They gritted out some things, and they got some things done. They had some good base running, and they were able to come out on top in a really, really cool way.
Arenado went 1 for 8 in those playoffs. His exit velo of his one hit was 72.1 miles per hour. Some of his other outs were 96.7, 96.9, 98, 98.9, and 103.7 for outs. So, to what you were just saying, Michael Lewis, who's the godfather of Moneyball, always said, he's the godfather of why sabermetrics really exist in Major League Baseball. But when it comes to playoffs, he says that stats are random. It's just good luck. Like, that right there, or the Phillies getting like a 67 mile per hour exit velo for a 2-run, ended up being a game-winning base hit. Like, playoffs are random. That's why it's so difficult to predict.
It's very cool.
It's very random, but go prove it.
Right.
There's not just one game. You got to win 2 now. Like, I'm looking right now, if you can see us, I'm glancing past Aaron a couple times, that the Phillies are currently up 6-1 in the top of the 4th inning of Game 1, and that's just kind of random. Like, Max Fried has been phenomenal. He hadn't given up 4 hits in an inning all year. In the first inning of the playoffs, he gives up 4 hits in the first inning to go down 2-0.
Yep.
And that's just, there's stats don't really matter anymore when you come to
playoffs. That's why you just play the game.
Yeah.
You just play the game. That's why, at the really high levels, mostly Major League Baseball, like, everyone is the best. Right? So anyone can beat anyone. It doesn't matter if they won 101 games. It doesn't matter. They're still the best. And so they can hit anyone. 101 miles an hour, hasn't given up a hit in 75,000 innings. It doesn't matter, right?
How cool is that stat, by the way?
What?
That in the last 3 years combined, not one hit has been recorded at a pitch that was over 100 miles per hour down the middle.
Right. Yeah. And there's a lot of guys throwing over 100 these days. But so that's the Phillies-Cardinals series. Pretty good series. Phillies are on a momentum. I really like their manager, who just got an extension.
Yes.
And
good for him.
On the broadcast, they were talking about how he brings this like cool, calm confidence. And I love that, because that's exactly what we talk about with our boys. What we say is that you want to have a relaxed intensity, right? Those two words are kind of contradicting, but that's what you kind of want to bring to the table when you're trying to play the best level, right? You want to have this relaxed idea, because we are in youth, so we want to keep it fun, we want to keep it relaxed, but we also want to have them have a bit of intensity and edge to them, and that's kind of like this calm, cool confidence, right? You're not egotistical, you're not cocky, right? But you understand your abilities, you understand your strengths, and you're humble about it, and you're willing to be a great teammate with that. Even if you don't get the job done, someone else will. You have this calm, cool confidence about you, this intense, relaxed intensity, about you. So that's really cool.
Sure.
And so now we have Phillies, Braves. Phillies are up right now. Next series, we just had the Mariners run away with it. God. They just ran away with it.
Can we get this? Can we send this over to Ben and have this up on the screen when we talk about this? This is insane. So, Game 1, Luis Castillo just absolutely shut it down. And the Mariners, were in Toronto. And actually, I was watching the broadcast, and one of the broadcasters was like, and there's Mariners fans from across the continent here. And so Toronto's like near New York City, and Seattle's near like Vancouver. So definitely not a different continent. Like different country, sure, and pretty far, because New York City to Seattle is not close.
No,
that's pretty much the distance between Toronto and Seattle as well. But I was just sitting there, like, I was pissed off because the Cardinals had just lost that game, so I was just like pissed off about everything. And then they were like, "Yeah, across the continent." I'm like, "You freaking idiot! It's not across the continent, dude." It's gonna like tweet at him and just like get in his head. No, but the Mariners pulled it out Game 1, and then Game 2 happened, and. I'm looking here. Looked like in the going in the bottom of the 6th inning, the Blue Jays up 8-0. Had a 99.99% chance of winning.
99.9% chance of winning.
And then the Mariners stormed back
and won.
Ended up winning 10-9.
Incredible.
Which is just insane. And so, yeah.
Don't tell me baseball's boring ever again.
God. We were actually, we were doing
a scrimmage
on Saturday night, and I was just following it, and I saw it was like 8-1. I'm like, all right, this game's over. Cool. Hey, Aaron, maybe I'll get one of these predictions right, because it looks like the Blue Jays are, like, getting their stuff going again. And then, like, an hour later, I see a tweet from Jeff Bodzin. It's like, tying runs on second base. I was like, what the heck is going on right now?
Yeah.
And there is Lulu. I need to ask you a question, so I'm going to keep that right there.
Okay.
But that's after the podcast. So yeah, that was an incredible series, and now like the Mariners, man, Scott Service is a player's manager through and through. I've known Scott since I was like 15 years old. He was director of player development for the Rangers when I was growing up, and he was the assistant general manager for the Angels in the early 2010s rather. And then he got his opportunity to go manage the Mariners, and they're about to play their first home game in like 22 years.
Unbelievable, yeah.
Like that is just insane. And then America's team just couldn't get it done. The Toronto Blue Jays.
Yeah, Seattle suits up against the number 2 ranked team in the playoffs, according to CBS Sports, the Houston Astros.
I disagree with that, but okay. And we'll get into predictions.
And then the Guardians really took care of Tampa Bay.
Yeah, what a series. You want to talk about... I'll tell you what excites me about baseball. It's not a 10-9 game. Like, those are 5-6 hour games that are just like, okay, nobody can pitch today. That's cool. I love when everybody can pitch and nobody can hit. Because then you get a 15-inning, 5.5 hour game. Mm-hmm. That excites me. Mm-hmm. There was nothing but defense, incredible defense. There was a play in the 12th or 13th inning of Game 2, the Guardians versus the Rays, where runners on second and third and a ball down the line, and Jose Ramirez backhands it, and he's just kind of off balance and slingshots it like not even sidearm, but underhands across the first base. And then you have...
First base made an incredible pick.
What's his name?
I forgot his name. Chew?
No, that's the Rays.
That's the Rays.
Guardians. First baseman. I'm very embarrassed I don't know this, because I was like... okay, Josh Naylor. Josh Naylor is such a badass. Came up as a catcher. And he outstretched... picked it up, but it wasn't like a one hopper. It was like way in front, and he caught it on the hop and had to go all the way out to get it. Mm-hmm. And then he somehow stayed on the bag to do it, because that was the potential game-winning run that he saved.
Right.
And because there's a runner on third, I was already like crossing. And so when in the next like 2 innings later, he made another incredible play to save a run, and then walk-off home run.
Isn't that the youngest guy on the roster who hit the walk-off home run?
Yes.
Yeah. So that was beautiful. Cool for the Guardians. Really, really cool for them.
Just that was one of the coolest games. I sat in the parking lot watching.
We watched most of that.
Yeah.
I watched most of that before we started our scrimmage again.
Yeah, I sat in the parking lot watching the end of it.
And then the last of the wild card series was the Padres versus the Mets.
And we said it back in April. Or I said it in April. We were talking about like rosters and like who we think's gonna do it. And I said what's gonna happen though. The Mets spend all this money, but the Mets are gonna Met. Mm-hmm. One way or another, the Mets will Met. They won 102 games this season, and they still Met. Meted. What's the proper grammar for I just metted?
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
They just fumbled, man.
They fumbled big time. Scherzer was not good.
They fumbled the division title. They fumbled the game. Scherzer's pitching a lot of big games.
Yeah.
So he has one where he's not at his best. So be it.
Sure.
Right? He's still one of the best of all time.
DeGrom came back and pitched a gym to get him to Game 3, deciding game. And then, dude, Musgroves, holy cow. A 1 hit over 7 innings. The least amount of hits a major league team has ever gotten in a winner-take-all game in the playoffs.
He just came to play.
And that is just, to me, one of the coolest stats, because Musgroves is from San Diego. Mm-hmm. and it's a hometown kid, and he threw the first ever no-hitter in Padres history, the game that I left early last year. Yeah, that happened. And I still get kids come up to me, like when I haven't met them really, and they listen to our podcast, and they'll be like, hey, can't believe you left that game early. I'm like, I think that was like our second or third episode ever. So it's pretty easy to find if you're just going to like pick it up and start listening to us.
Yeah. Shout out to Coach Sander Bryan.
Yeah, shout out to Coach Sander Bryan. Miss you, man. I can't imagine he listens to us anymore. But if he does, I miss you, and I love you, and I hope you're doing well. And come join us anytime you want.
The Musgraves came to play, and so did Grisham.
Dude, Grisham. That was a whole like X factor, like who's gonna get hot?
You know,
who can get hot?
He batted $200, under 200 all year,
right?
And then hits 500 in the wild card,
right? And that was great.
But that's what I'm
last
saying,
night was so much fun. It was 2 nights ago. So much every time he came out.
Everyone is really good at baseball.
Yes.
Just because they're hitting 147, something's happening, right? They're off a little bit, but they all can get hot
a little bit off,
and drop bombs and drive in runs. He's always been he's like 95th percentile defense, right?
You know what excited me the most about the Padres? Yeah, continue with that, but like I have something to say about it.
And then but also an interesting discussion that we don't need to talk about in this episode, we can talk about later, is like where Tatis is going to fit in, right? Because they love the shortstop they have now.
Right.
They love Grisham.
Yeah.
Where does Tatis? Obviously, he plays.
They have Grisham. We can bring Lane Gross on the podcast to talk about that sometime.
You know, but that's a cool thing we can think about next year. But
at Lane Gross, you want to come on and talk to us about y'all's plans? Lane is the director of amateur scouting for the Padres, and I just sent in my I cannot attend your wedding note yesterday, which I'm very upset about. And I've always told him, like, hey, we got to get you to come on the podcast just to talk about like this. And he goes, hey, there's only so much I can talk about. Like, fair enough. We're still going to point blank ask you what you're going to do about Tatis.
So that was another great series. Happy for the Padres, man.
Coolest thing for me. Let me throw this in there.
Yep.
I get the sabermetrics say don't do this. I understand there's two different arguments to bunting. There's two different arguments to bunting. It's, do I want to put this guy in position, or do we want to then take the bat out of the hands? Or the metrics show that more often than not, it's going to be more successful if you don't do that and you just go for a hit, right? I, as a game manager, don't bunt a lot. I think 3 times last year I called for a bunt in like our 13, 14U games across like 78 games that I was running offense, right? But when it's necessary, it's necessary. You have Juan Soto of the home run derby winner, Juan Soto, come up to the plate and lay down a bunt to get a runner in scoring position. And the next at-bat was Manny Machado, who hit one down the line and a run scored. A couple innings later, Aaron Nola, with runners on first and second, laid down a sac bunt to put runners on second and third. Next batter, base hit down the line, 2 runs score. So they got 3 runs produced off of 2 free outs on the sac bunt.
Playing team baseball.
And to see Juan Soto, of all people, I would, even in retrospect, knowing what he's going to do and how it would work out, I would still say, no, you don't bunt Juan Soto. You just don't do it.
Right.
Because he's getting hot too. He's finding his groove, which is dangerous.
Yeah, he's getting lukewarm.
Yeah. He's getting comfortable. It's always uncomfortable to go to a new team with these insanely high expectations because, hey, we traded our entire farm system.
Yeah.
Or, Garrett Cole, we gave you more money than you can ever imagine fathoming.
Yeah, but he's not unfamiliar with the playoffs.
Sure.
Right? He's been there.
Yes.
At an even younger age than he is now.
Right.
So
yes. So maturity.
But everyone goes into slumps. Everyone gets cold, right? But in baseball, you just find a way to keep getting things done because he's not going to get taken out of the lineup, and you just keep finding a way to get things done. He's playing good defense. You always see him with a smile on his face. Yes. He's always cheering on his teammates. He's excited for people around him. He knows, okay, yeah, maybe I'm not super hot right now. His intention was to get a base hit. Yes. Right? But if he misses it by a little bit, execute it, right? If he executes it 100% perfectly, he's on base, right? But if he doesn't, he still gets the runner over, and the guys behind him, Manny Machado is an MVP candidate, right? He drives and runs. He's the leader of the Padres. That's going to happen, really. That's good stuff, right? And that's what you want to see from the best players on your team.
Yes.
Now, if Manny Machado is having the same kind of series as Grisham, and he's 500, you let him swing away, right? Because more likely he's not. He's going to laser a ball somewhere, and it's going to happen, right? But in those types of situations, he's thinking about his team over himself, which we're going to get into later with some of these other things that have happened before the playoffs. Yes. But that's what you want to see from a very young man.
2 players.
Right? A really young man in Juan Soto. He is not a mature 42-year-old Albert Pujols.
No.
He is in his 20s, got a massive contract, which could inflate his ego beyond this world, but you can still see that he loves the game. He's fallen in love with his teammates, and he cares about them winning the game.
23 years old.
I mean, that's incredible. And so you see that with even younger than that, too, who loves the game of baseball, right?
So awesome.
And so that's where baseball is going in terms of not like the metrics and bunting, all that. I'm saying those guys are what baseball is about, like enjoying the game, playing for your team,
right?
Loving the sport, right? Putting it, like all of those things. And so that's amazing. So those are all the wild card series.
Should we just put this entire game like in the lower box so that like we can like watch it with people who are watching it even though it's already happened?
This episode is going to come out. It's going to be game 3 already by the time this episode comes out. Okay, so now we're in the division series. You already know because you watch this, you love baseball, but we got Phillies, Braves, we got Padres, Dodgers, we got Guardians, Yankees, and we got Mariners, Astros. Your World Series pick is still intact.
Yes.
Mine is absolutely 100% not.
Well, like one of them is currently losing 6-1 at the bottom of the 4th, 2 outs, 1 runner on.
So, but let's go. What do you got? Well, you want to go Padres, Dodgers?
Let's just be very transparent here. He and I are these. I suspect will be perfect.
Hey, we're just like Juan Soto. We just love doing it. With what's happening on the TV right now.
We have it on right now.
Phillies.
Yeah, Braves and Phillies. Yeah, okay. So, the Atlanta Braves, man, they're my NLCS pick. He was safe. And this is my ALCS pick, or NLCS pick is the Braves, and also I had the Phillies getting swept in St. Louis, so there's that too. Phillies, man, what a surprise. You have Wheeler and Nola, who are extremely formidable as a 1-2, and they're going to probably go games 3 and 4
right
at home here for the Phillies. So the idea is if you steal one in Atlanta, this could be really fun. Right now, it's looking like they're knocking on the door of stealing one in Atlanta.
Yep.
The players are playing loose with nothing to lose, and there's nothing more dangerous in a tournament than playing a team that has nothing to lose. Like, you watch these guys. I was watching every single pitch of their series against the Cardinals, and they are just having so much fun. Like, constantly just like, we got 3 balls with the runner with the bases loaded. It's full count. Like, hey, here we go. Like, we're gonna go walk. We can get a run here. Like, there's so much fun. The other side is the Braves, the defending champions. I said it back in April, but I thought they actually got better because they freed up potential money to do what they just did. They just locked out Strider. Like, the fact they're going to get Strider, who could be the Rookie of the Year.
Yep.
If Matt Harris Jr. was not so freaking good. Like $12 million a year, like they have them locked down for the next 8 years. So the Braves are very similar to the Astros and the Dodgers. They were just been absolutely dominant this year. They played incredible baseball down the stretch. Usurping the Mets finally.
Yep.
For the number 1 spot. They are in theory hot at the right time. They have top tier pitching. They have top tier hitting. They have top tier defense. They have the Rookie of the Year for the National League, and they have nothing but playoff experience.
Right.
So for me, it's extremely difficult to bet against the Braves.
Right.
Even though what I'm looking at right now, I'm not going to let that change exactly what I'm saying. That I think the Braves are going to beat the Phillies in 6. I think that the Phillies will steal 1 in Atlanta, and I said that I wrote that before the game started. But the Phillies will steal 1 in Atlanta, and they will lose 1 at home to even it out. And I think it's going to be a Wheeler game because Wheeler does struggle to go deep. Also, the Phillies...
Well, aren't these just 5-game series?
No. Are they?
Yes.
Oh, well, never mind. I have a lot to change then. I'm so used to, there goes my research. Thank you for that.
That's what I'm seeing here on CBS Sports.
So I changed my mind. And I have some changes I'm making here. So I'm gonna go Braves in 4. Braves are gonna win in 4. The Phillies don't have a great bullpen.
Yeah.
They have 2 players who can really lock it down. 3 with the F when they're the closer. But
they don't have a signified closer role.
Right. I mean, even like the series versus the Phillies and Cardinals, I saw Eflin throw 28 pitches in the 9th inning. Like, he's just like, he was okay.
Yeah.
Against, a bunch of rookies and 42-year-olds. He was okay.
Okay, so you're going Braves in 4.
Braves in 4. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Braves will take this series, but I'm not counting out by any means the
Actually, I'm
Phillies.
gonna change to 5.
Yeah, I think that's a good bet.
Braves over Phillies in 5.
Yeah, I agree. What do we got? We got Padres and Dodgers. That's a big series.
Anything else you want to say about that? Like, did I say it all?
No, I agree with you.
All right, cool. Good talk. All right, Dodgers and Padres. This should be a lot of fun because they're well, we say an hour apart, but like it takes 3 hours to drive between them because of traffic.
Yeah.
But they're right next to each other.
This is
Padres.
This is an interesting.
This will be fun.
Very fun.
You got the Padres. We go with like these teams like the Mariners and the Padres who haven't had playoff games, or the Phillies haven't played playoff games at home. The Padres have not had a home playoff game since 2006.
Oof.
They didn't win a game at home against
2006.
the eventual World Series champion Cardinals.
Mm-hmm.
Beat the Tigers that year. They haven't won a game at home in the playoffs since 1998, where they ended up losing to the Yankees in the World Series. So 2006 was their last home game in the playoffs. That is, gosh, we are now 15, 16, I don't know, it's like 16, 17 years away apart. But getting hot at the right time. You got Grisham, you have Soto, Machado, some playoff experience. Musgroves is set to start a game at home in his hometown, versus the Dodgers down the road. They got to win a game.
Yeah, they'll
win a game. I think it's going to be a muff rose game. But on the other side, you have the Dodgers.
You have the team in the National League.
They had the most wins in franchise history. They have the fewest runs allowed in the league, the most runs scored in the league, and the highest run differential in Major League since 1939 Yankees, who had Joe DiMaggio and Lou Gehrig. Is that good? Is that good?
Seems good.
Highest run differential in the major leagues since 1939 with the Lou Gehrig, Joe DiMaggio Yankees. The only weakness they really have is their bullpen. Do they have a closer? Well, they have 3 guys who can be closers in any other team in the league. So, yeah, they have a closer. They just don't know who it is, right?
Yeah.
They do have some bullpen issues that go in and out. But again, fewest runs allowed in the league and most runs scored in the league and biggest run differential since 39.
Yeah, I don't think my guy Blake Trinan's on the playoff roster.
Yeah, no, he's not. So also, obviously, they're in the same division. The Dodgers went 14-5 versus the Padres in regular season. They won each series and they outscored the Padres 109-47.
That's a big deal.
It's a big deal. So I'll go back to it. I think that the Padres do win the Musgroves game, which I think will be game 3.
Yep.
And then the Dodgers will just annihilate them in game 4.
Yeah, I'm on the side of the Dodgers, but I think the Padres are going to come to play, obviously. Like we've been stating this whole time, they're a Major League Ball club. I think their manager, Melvin, he brings the manager in baseball is important for a few things, right? Especially decisions late in the game, right? The manager obviously doesn't play for the guys.
Sure.
No manager, no coach plays for the guys. They know how to get the job done. But what he does bring is the chemistry he creates, the leadership he creates, the confidence he has in his players, and the decisions he makes late in the game.
Right.
And I think he brings that. Because anytime you're the coach of the Oakland A's, and you bring a team to a playoffs, you're doing it with a lot of talent, like we said the whole time, but not talent that's like been cultivated over a long time. It's
not a winning atmosphere.
It's not. But when you can create that, that's something special with the person who's leading the charge.
Yes.
And I think he's done that because we've seen the Padres blow it over the last couple years.
Yes.
They just haven't gotten the job done with immense amount of talent.
Yeah,
and
Tingler did not know how to run that team.
And so they bought even more talent, but they're arguably have their best player who's not playing. Tatis Jr.
Yes.
Right, but they have Machado, who's having one of the best years of his career. We have Juan Soto, who's an absolute stud, and we have these other guys who are hot.
Right.
They're hot, and they're taking one day off. Right, so they're gonna realistically they're gonna stay hot. You never know.
No, you're right.
You never know, but realistically speaking, I think those guys stay hot. But with that said, the Dodgers are a fucking team, bro.
You're a freaking team.
Like
I can curse on this podcast.
They got over their World Series curse.
Yeah.
Their little hiccup in the road, and they know how to win.
A lot of people will say that was the fake World Series.
They still won. They still beat other baseball teams to win a World
right
Series.
over here. In fact, I was at the very first game.
I think we went to like game 3 or something.
Yeah, we went to game 1. It was Dodgers versus Braves, ironically. Yeah.
So I think it'll be a really good series. I think all of these will be highly competitive, obviously.
Sure.
But I do have the Dodgers. I think I have them in 5 as well. So do you.
Okay. I have Dodgers in 4.
You have Dodgers in 4.
You have Dodgers in 5.
Dodgers in 5.
We both have. Now that I am aware that this is a 5-game series, not a 7.
Yeah.
That shows where my head's at. I did a lot of research on like who can do what, but I still did not look at the schedule at all. All right, next game.
Okay, so then we'll have our picks will be Braves versus Dodgers in the championship series.
We haven't. Oh, we're just going to the National League. Okay, cool.
And now we got Guardians versus the Yankees.
I think this has potential to be the best series.
Guardians, Yankees, baby.
The Guardians are pitching. The Yankees are hitting. Mm-hmm. The Guardians don't score runs. That's all the Yankees do.
Mm-hmm.
The Yankees give up runs. Guardians don't really score a ton of them. So this is kind of a stalemate. I think this is inevitably going to go 5 games.
Yep.
I massively underestimated the Guardians, calling them the weakest team in the weakest, or a weak team in the weakest division, and kind of stumbled in the playoffs, which they did in theory.
Yeah.
But they are watching them, man. Like that playoff atmosphere in Cleveland. They can't hit, but shoot, can they pitch? They can pitch.
I mean, CBS Sports still has them ranked as the 8th out of 8th team.
They are
8 teams power rankings wise. But like the theme of this podcast has been they're a Major League Baseball team with Major League Baseball players.
Your theme. I think that's, maybe look at the Pirates, they're a AAA team, but whatever.
They're not a AAA team.
Just kidding. I hear that argument all the time. Like, guys, they're still on a Major League roster.
They would smash anyone.
Yes.
There's 30 teams in the league for a reason.
Yes. So Garrett Cole this year broke the record for a Yankees record for number of strikeouts in a season. He got 257 strikeouts, but he also struggled. He's, grew up a Yankees fan, signed a giant contract.
Yeah.
He's finally, doing it in the regular season, but he
has to do it in the
constantly
postseason.
has been like, what are you doing? Like, you're not even a freaking, ace if you can't pitch game 1 and get a win. Like last year, they lost to the Red Sox in their 1-game wild card. Garrett Cole was on the mound and he gave like 7 runs in 4 innings, like that. Like, it wasn't good.
He's pitching tonight.
He struggles to give up home runs, but the runners don't really hit many. Fun fact, the Yankees this year hit 254 home runs. You cut that in half. What is 254 divided by 2?
254. I don't know.
I got you. 254 divided by 2 is 127 home runs. That's how many the Guardians hit this year. They hit at 50% as many as the Yankees.
Judge almost hit the same amount as them. He had 63.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Yeah, did he ever? So the Yankees are a formidable opponent, but they struggle in the bullpen. They don't really have a whole lot of arms, and they have one less. We can talk about that in a second.
Yep.
The Guardians pitching similar to the Phillies. They have literally nothing to lose. They don't care. I mean, they're a bunch of dudes who just want to go in and beat them. They have the best strikeout rate in the major leagues. As an offense, they don't strike out. They get on base. They play small ball. They have Terry Francona, a Hall of Fame manager, a fantastic bullpen. Their lineup is young and fierce and just has fun, and they're hot.
Yep.
And they're hot, and they have nothing to lose. So
there's a good mixture of stuff going on there for them.
Series. You could also argue that the Yankees are very top heavy. When you have Matt Carpenter as somebody who's like, hey, like he can be a big part of the lineup, then maybe your lineup's not as good as you thought.
Right.
They do finally have is that a bug?
No.
They do finally have a center fielder in Harrison Bader.
Harrison Bader, my guy.
Yeah, Harrison Bader, your old teammate.
Yep.
Your old summer league teammate.
Shout out to the Lakeshore Chinooks.
The Lakeshore Chinooks. So tell the story real quick about how good Harrison Bader is, by the way.
Oh, this is hilarious, dude. So I played with the Lakeshore Chinooks in the Northwoods League, and if you're thinking about summer ball leagues, Northwoods is probably number 2 in the country.
Okay.
I think.
Number 1 being the Cape.
Number 1 being the Cape, Northwoods being number 2.
And Harrison Bader couldn't play in the Cape.
Well, when I played with him, it was just after his freshman year.
I was just kidding.
So they didn't need to send him to the Cape yet.
Sure, that's fair.
And I felt like really blessed to be playing in the Northwoods League because it's amazing. And so it was like the best summer I've ever had in terms of getting better at baseball. It's the best competition I faced. We're facing 92 miles an hour and up every single night. Everyone's a dude. I had one of my best summer seasons. It was amazing. But I would get to the park for every game, like 3 or 4 hours before the game.
Why 3 or 4 hours?
And I would just work on shit.
Okay.
Because that was the only time that we could practice.
Oh, I got you. That's fair. Because you can't do that.
Because in summer ball, you're playing games every day. So one of the assistant coaches would show up with me every day because I was just trying to get better and trying to utilize every tool I had. Because I went to South Dakota State, and we just didn't have some of that stuff that some of these coaches were there. And so I would be there 3 or 4 hours of the game. Harrison Bader would show up, 17 minutes before game time, throw on his cleats, go 3 for 4.
Didn't you tell me he would tie his shoes in the outfield? Like he would run the outfield?
I mean, I'm exaggerating some of this stuff just to make the story a little bit better. But just saying that he was an absolute dude, and it was right after his freshman year. He went to Florida. Clearly, he's a stud. He had some Gold Glove years with the Cardinals. He's now in the Yankees.
And the reason why the Yankees made that trade was because they gave up Jordan Montgomery, who ended up being an incredible pitcher for the Cardinals down the stretch. But they needed a center fielder. Austin Hicks wasn't it. Aaron Hicks. What is it? Who's Austin Hicks?
I don't know. It sounds like a cool name.
It does.
But yeah, I like Harrison Bader, and I'm happy for him.
He is arguably the best outfielder that the league has seen in years. Just his ability to read the ball off the bat and track it down with his speed. And he has a good arm, too.
Yeah.
He is a gamer.
Yep.
And he's still, he hits like 260.
Right. He loves the game of baseball. He's going to steal. He's going to slide. He's going to get after it. He's going to dive. He's going to run into the fucking wall.
We got to clip this so I can give a shout out to my Cardinals friends. Like, hey, we're talking about Harrison Bader because the Cardinals fans freaking loved him.
Yeah, of course we did. But I that team was absolutely stacked in the Chinooks League. But
yeah, that's a cool story. Going back to it.
Let's talk about.
Let's do the predictions.
Let's talk about. Are we going to the next team, or are we going to talk about Chapman first?
Do you want to give predictions and go to Chapman, or you want to talk Chapman and then predictions?
Oh yeah, give your predictions.
Yeah, I got Yankees in 5.
Yankees in 5.
I think they're just too formidable, and I think the Guardians will ultimately go to that Game 5 in Yankee Stadium in the Bronx and shudder a little bit. Just be like, we did it already, but oh man, this is scary.
Yeah,
and it's tough when you're that young of a team.
Right.
Their advantage is they have Terry Francona as their manager, who's
not afraid of going to the Bronx, baby.
God, no, because he was the manager of the
he owns that shit
of the Red Sox for years and years and years. But I do believe that the Guardians will ultimately falter in Game 5.
I mean, the Yankees are my World Series pick. They're still on the American League side, so I'm going to stick with that. I think they beat the Guardians. But I think they have
you can change picks just to save face if you want.
No, I'm sticking with the Yankees. I don't know who I'm going with on the National League side now. I just don't. I mean, it's either going to be the Dodgers or the Braves because that's what we put.
7-1, right?
That's what we put in the championship series. But Yankees take it. Guardians have a great series, and I think they have a equally or better year going into next year based on their productivity this year. So. Okay. But let's talk about Chapman. I think this is important to talk about, especially for the theme of our podcast.
Really cool. You never want a player to mess up. That's not what we root for.
No.
But what we do root for is accountability.
Accountability and character.
And so if you're unfamiliar, a couple of days ago, Adolis Chapman, who is, was signed to a big contract to be the Yankees closer. This year he was in and out of injury. They also have Clay Holmes, who is arguably one of the better closers in baseball. Just absolutely filthy. So Adolis Chapman was basically a middle relief setup guy for a lot of the year.
Still throws 100 from the left side.
Still throws 100 from the left side.
But not
absolutely nasty. Yeah. He's not our Adolis Chapman of the past, but he's still a big part of the bullpen. Mm-hmm. He's still somebody you want in your bullpen when you need to get 3 outs or just the last out. So Adolis Chapman showed up a couple of days ago late to a workout, and as such, and because his reasoning was not sufficient, Aaron Boone and the Yankees organization decided to leave him off of the LDS roster. So the Yankees are willingly going into this series against the Guardians without one of their best pitchers because he broke the team rules and apparently just did not care. And hats off to Aaron Boone. I'm taking my hat off. Hats off to Aaron Boone and the Yankees. Accountability for actions is so big. I've thrown kids off teams before. I've thrown kids out of games before just for accountability of actions. You have to teach it. You have to teach it. Have to teach it. You can't get away with whatever you want just because you're good. That's not the way the world works. That's not the way teams work. You can't put yourself before the team, which we have another player who did this but already apologized for the next series that we're going to talk about. You just can't do it. And when you do, you have to you have to face consequences. And kudos to the Yankees for saying, "Hey, you're not allowed in our dressing room for the next week and a half until we go to the LCS, and then we'll talk about it then."
Right.
And maybe they do so well without him, they're like, "Hey, we don't want you anymore." Like that's what. Go to soccer for a second. Arsenal had one of the most expensive players in history in Aubameyang. You don't know much about him. I'm just throwing out names that some people might know, but he's such a Ben would know because he's when he's cutting this. But Aubameyang was Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang was one of the best players in the world and got paid a ton of money. And then last year, he was a captain and kind of like said, "I don't really want to, don't really care about what the team's first stuff is. It's about me now." And so within 3 months, they demoted him to not being captain. And he never played again for them, and they sold him to Barcelona immediately. That's accountability. We don't need you on the team. We want you on the team. You would help. But the second your attitude hinders your ability to be a good leader on this team, you're out.
Right.
And that's how it should be. Because that's how it is in the real world. So that's how it should be in sports. And the Yankees are doing that.
Yeah, it's really good to see, because a lot of times when people get to certain levels and statures, they become bigger than the sport or bigger than the team, and they're kind of just allowed to do whatever they want. And we can show them otherwise, that winning is not the most important thing, but holding ourselves to our words and our actions and showing up with character is the most important thing. If Aaron Boone and the Yankees lose this series, he will get a lot of questions about his decision to leave Chapman.
I get fired.
But regardless of that, no matter what happens, he made the right choice.
Yes.
Now, again, we don't know everything about the situation, but we do know enough to say that he is right.
Right.
And if he gets fired for not winning this series and leaving Chapman off, that's the wrong decision by the New York Yankees.
But it's a decision that I think he would put his cap on.
But he would be able to sleep at night and be like, yes, I made the right choice. I live with integrity. I live with value. And this is also a lesson to Chapman, that you cannot think you're too good. Everyone can get better. Everyone can improve. Everyone can be accountable for their actions. If you did even not want to show up to practice, at least be honest about it, right? Don't give this lame excuse, my dog ate my homework, I had to trek uphill 27 miles, yada, 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 yada. Just be honest, lead with the truth, and then go from there. And apologize sincerely when you mean it. He didn't care about missing the workout. He didn't want to be there. That's why his excuse was the way his excuse was.
Showed up late to the workout, but yes.
Showed up late, whatever, either or. And so we have to, as people in leadership positions, show that our actions matter, and that when we say we're going to do something, we do it. And if we have rules and people don't follow by those rules, there's consequences for those actions. And that's important, because every small boy who watches Major League Baseball is watching these decisions happen. And they're now learning that if I do these things too, there's consequences for my actions. It's at a high school level. It's at a college level. It's all of these levels. It's important. You have to care about your teammates and your team just as much as you care about your own personal success. And that's important. And when that starts to falter, you have to be held accountable for that. And there has to be repercussions for those decisions. And I'm super glad to see that, because that trickles down all the way into all levels, into our levels, into when we have disciplinary actions for our kids,
right,
and we can relate it to these situations. Like, this youth baseball game is not as important as perceived as important. None of them are important. It's just baseball, sure, as the New York Yankees championship series. But I will leave you off if you just cannot do the things that we're asking, and the same thing. And so that's what I think, and I think it's awesome to see.
May I dive into exactly what happened? Okay, so we do know exactly what happened. I'm sure. I was just going to say it. So he said that he would attend this mandatory workout if he was guaranteed a spot on their postseason roster. The Yankees said, we're not going to give you that insurance. So he stayed home in Miami, missed the workout, and the Yankees told him, stay there, you're not on the roster.
Yep.
The quote from Brian Cashman, because Aaron Boone said it was disappointing. Brian Cashman, the general manager for the Yankees, said There was no legitimate reason why he wasn't there. He's employed to provide work. The postseason roster hadn't been set. We hadn't even had our meetings yet. We still hadn't had that meeting. He chose not to come. Clearly disappointing, but at the same time, not surprised by how things have started to play out over the course of the season. It was surprising at first, a little shocking, but then after the shock wore off, when you add everything up, it's not surprising. And then he goes on to say that he's maintained verbally that he's in, but at times his actions don't match those words. So it sounds to me like they're not even just saying the series. Like, you're not a Yankee anymore, dude. I wouldn't be surprised knowing the Yankees organization if they won and just didn't give him a ring.
Yeah.
Just the way he's conducting himself. Because that you have that option. You trade a player at the deadline and you end up winning. Those players you trade tend to get rings anyway. But you can also say, hey, we're effectively cutting you. You're not a part of this team anymore.
Well, we'll see how that shakes out, but
grown men throwing fits because they're not getting what they want.
Yep.
And you see it more and more as you get older, and it never ceases to amaze me.
So that's an interesting story, but
yeah.
Guardians, Yankees, we got Yankees. Moving on.
You got them in 5 too?
Yep.
All right.
And last series we'll talk about before we wrap this episode up is Mariners Astros.
Sure.
I'll state my pick.
Yeah.
I'm really pumped about the Mariners.
Sure.
And so I'm going to go on a limb, and I'm going to say Mariners win in 5.
Okay.
And knock the Astros out.
I love it. Good for you, man. You're wrong, but good for you.
I don't mind being wrong.
That's fair. The Astros are my pick in the World Series
I know.
to win, so I'm not going to do that. Let's dive into it. The Astros have the best bullpen in the major leagues. They have the second best rotation in the major leagues. They are battle tested. They're true. Dusty Baker has not gotten his ring yet. He wants that ring. Everybody wants to get him that ring. And one thing nobody talks about, but the Astros 17 World Series championship will always have that little meh. And everybody talks about that. Nobody talks about the fact that guys like Altuve and Bregman and Verlander want this World Series so they can say, hey, we don't need the BS that some people did and some people didn't. We can win on our own. They haven't yet because it's hard to win a World Series. They've had great teams.
Right.
They're not even close to being done having great teams. They are so stacked throughout their system. They're going to be good for a long time.
Right.
But this is Dusty Baker's possible last year. His contract runs out. They have Justin Verlander, who I was thought that was insane to give him $50 million.
He had an incredible year.
And he's going to win the Cy Young. So there's that. Christian Javier is fantastic. Garcia and Urquidy, who are 36 and 20, and they may not be in the rotation for them. That's how good they are. They can lead guys who are number 2, number 3 guys anywhere else in the majors, and they're like, hey, we don't really need your services for this 5-game series. So, go. See ya. The Mariners, of course, Luis Castillo, Robbie Ray, Logan Gilbert, who's pitching Game 1 tonight. Their bullpen is fantastic, and what we said several times, they have nothing to lose.
They want it.
They're so young and so fierce and have so much fun as competitors that they don't care that it's the big bad Astros, who I argue are the best team in baseball. Second fiddle. I'm sorry. Dodgers are obviously on paper the best team, but second best team in baseball, which is why I disagree that you called the Astros or the Yankees second best, because I think the Astros are better than the Yankees, personally. Mariners 21-year playoff drought for the fans, so Game 3 is going to be in Seattle. That's why I do think this is going to go to 5 games. How many games did you think it was going to be?
I said Mariners.
So the Astros are 12-7 versus their divisional rivals, but they played 19 games in the run differential, and those 19 games is 8 runs. That's stupid to me. How good these teams play against each other.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Astros have a 5-game advantage on that. But again, the Astros are the Astros, and I find myself rooting for them. I do want Dusty Baker to win a World Series, as long as it's not against the Cardinals, which is no longer a possibility. I will not be upset if the Seattle Mariners win this series. I would think that would be such a cool story for baseball.
Yep.
I do think we're going to get another Yankees-Astros ALCS, which I'm starting to get kind of bored of. But like, you know, it's kind of like, you know, Cleveland versus Golden State back in the day. It was just boring to see that for the 8th time in 6 years, which is impossible, but that's what it felt like. So yeah, I got Astros 5 games series. I think the ALDS games are going to be so much fun.
Yeah,
these 2 series have 2 of the 3 teams right now left that just don't care anymore. They're like, hey, F it. Like, nobody expects anything from us. Let's just go lay it all out there. And right now, we got bottom of the 5th, 1 out. Phillies up 7-1 against the Braves. Like, that's
huge.
That's huge, right?
Yeah.
That's the Phillies saying, hey, you want to count us out? Look at us. We're going to stomp on you first game. Now, the game's not over. The Braves very well could come back and win this game.
They have a powerful offense.
Yeah, and they have, you know, 2nd and 3rd with 1 out right now. So, like, you know, it's possible. But I think the Guardians, here's something. 7-3. Phillies just got it within 4. So that's why I paused. I wanted to see what happened on that pitch. The Phillies, the Guardians, and the Mariners are just so...
They're ready to go, man. They just want it.
Yeah, they just want it.
And if they lose, no one's going to say anything about it, right? If the Yankees and the Astros and the Dodgers lose, their whole season was a failure, right?
Yes.
Their whole season was a failure. So, even though we don't use that word, but that's what people will say about it.
Yes, that's what they will. And, you know, and when you get to that point, like when you look at it, like, did you do what you set out to be? Are you the World Series champions? No, then it's a failure.
Only one team can be.
I don't like saying the word failure in everyday tasks, but if your one goal, you don't have 20 goals, you have one goal, and that's to win it, and you didn't.
That's what people are going to say. But if the Phillies and the Guardians and the Mariners lose, people are going to be like, wow, they had a great year.
Yes.
And so that's the difference in pressure that perceived from the media and the outside.
The Yankees and the Astros and the Braves runs right.
And now
if you guys lose, it'll be embarrassing.
It really matters how the players feel and how their mindset and mental performance is going into the games, and then how they attribute that to their physical skills and how they step up to the plate. But today's the start of the division series. Those are our picks.
Run down real quick. Dodgers over Padres in 4. Braves over Phillies in 5. Astros over Mariners in 5. And Yankees over Guardians in 5. So based off that, on my end, those are my picks. Based off that, we're going to have 3 great series, and then the Dodgers and Padres are not going to be as great.
Yep.
Your picks, one more time.
I got Braves, Dodgers, Yankees, Mariners.
Boom. I got Braves, Dodgers, Yankees, Astros.
So we'll see Yankees versus Mariners in the championship series, and we'll see Braves and Dodgers in the championship series on my end. And then on Bodzin's end, everything is the same except the Yankees will play the Astros.
Yes. Cool. I think we are set to
We're good.
To watch these games together, and then we can
we'll circle back when we can.
Back at the end of this, so we can push out our ALCS options.
And we'll pop some more episodes. If all the series go long, we might drop in the middle of it. But most likely at the end, heading towards the championship series, we'll have another episode.
Yep.
So cheers. Thanks for watching. We love you.
Love you guys.
Always remember, champions adjust. Cheers. See you next time.
Thank you.